Hey guys, welcome to the stream for this afternoon. Hang on a second, I'm going to turn off my fan. Okay, just realised it was on there when I started the stream. So, what we've done last night is quite a lot offline, right? Not a huge amount, but we've done a few bits and bobs round about. So, what we've got is we've made a building for storage. So now when we look at this, we have basically a full set of buildings apart from the metalworks. Okay, but we haven't got a building for that yet, so that's why we can't really do that one. But otherwise, we have tidied all this up so everything comes in correctly, and we have also created a new model, etc. for our copper, sorry, not copper, for products in our copper coil. Right, so we now have a new copper coil. Okay. So that is now going to get used for the model. And we obviously created a image of that, so we've got that all set up. The other thing we have done is we have basically, when we do the probe now, right, we get this. And as you can see, we spawn our rocks, and our drone comes down and scans the area. Now we have to rearrange the order in which this happens, okay? So what we want is for our miner to come in, then our drone to scan the area, and only once the area is scanned then do we actually create the instances of the mineral. Okay, but if we do that again, right, you can see there the different color. Okay, so what I'm suggesting is the target for today is to get the things happening in the correct order. Okay, so let's start with that, will we? And if we get past that part, then the next part we're going to do is we're going to set up the miner so that you can build a miner, but it's only going to build over a mineral deposit. Okay? So, let's go through how we do this. Okay? And the way we're going to do it is by hitting our main game menu and main menu button. Right, we look at the graph. Now this is the thing that's going to do it. So the first thing we do is we spawn the BP grid. Okay, now that is all okay. Right, but now we need to see what the BP grid actually does. Okay. And we're probably going to remove this text render and change this to something else. But we want to see what actually happens here, right? We get the drones, and the drones fly. Right, and then what we do is we come down here and we launch probe. No, we don't, because this is not connected. So we don't do that, right? So we come in here, we get the available drones, and then as you can see here, we spawn the mining probe. Okay, so we're going to look in here, right? And this is found materials, so that's not quite right. We want basically this. And then we do found materials between 5 and 10 seconds, right? So that's not really what we want. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to find out which of our drones. We're going to have to find out about our drone, right? And find out what basically what we have as far as the drone goes. Okay, now I'm pretty sure the drones are, it's like here possibly. Yep. Right, so we've got BP drone. Right. Now, home location, landing rotation, but what we actually need to know is AI drone. Right, so we know what the home location is. fly height and home location, right? But there must be something where we set the target location, right? There must be something where we set this target location or the next location, okay? So if we go back to the AI, enum, we're looking for target location, which isn't obviously set in here, but I'm guessing that we set it in the mining probe or the previous one, basically in the grid, right? And there it's their target location, okay? So we know what the target location is, and we also know that it is a BP grid. Right? Now that does not make it this the right thing here. Right? Right, okay, this is the one that selects it. So we're not bothered about that. What we're worried about is when it turns it into, basically when it spawns the BP mineral, right? This is what we're worried about. When it spawns it as the BP mineral, that is where we're interested. And it's obviously before the drone. Or one would think it is. Okay, so that isn't getting used, so let's delete it. We can always rewrite it if required, but I don't think we need it to be rewritten. So what we actually need to know is if that could be it. Yeah, this could be it. And it's basically when we click on it. Let's see what else is in this graph. Nothing. Right, okay, so let's see what's in here. So on clicked is where I'm guessing we create Thank you very much, Blue Lagoon. That's very kind of you. Right, so we're looking for the part where we actually spawn. the mineral. Right? Which has to be here. So it's in found minerals. Right? And here it's here. Right? So this is the important part. This is the part that we need to move. In correlation to where we are. Now, what we're actually going to have to do is, this isn't going to spawn it. It has to be the drone. Okay? So the drone is going to have to know which mining probe that it's connected to. But then is it? Or is it the grid? That is the question. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll go into our BB drone and we shall say probe, what we call it, see, we don't know if this is going to be a grid or not, right? It's going to be BP. Well, let's go back. What is the thing that spawns? Right, so it's definitely the probe grid. Except, no, it's not. It's this mining probe. Right? So it's mining probe. So we shall rename this to mining probe. Right? And it's going to be an object. Right, we've done a search on that. That was silly. We didn't do a new key. Right. So we're doing a new object, and it's going to be mining probe. Right, so BP underscore mining probe. Okay. And then what we're going to do is, when it reaches the end in the behavior tree, we're going to tell this to basically fire this. Right, it's going to fire found minerals. Okay, so let's do that. So we're in here. And I don't know why that's not coming up, but anyway. So we go back and get our probe. which is a drone. Then we get AI. We get the behavior tree. Right? Now, here's the thing. That's the rise. That's the rise from scan. That's the deactivate the scanner. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new task. So we'll duplicate this and we shall say found minerals. Okay. And with that, we are going to add a variable. And it's going to be mining probe, because it has to be the exact same name, right? And this has to be a key selector, and it has to be there, right? Right, we're going to do that. Get value as object. Then we're going to cast to mining probe. And then here we're going to say found minerals. Okay. We don't need to do anything here, so we can basically delete that. And what we'll do in the short term is we shall just do this, right? But obviously there's going to be code, right? There's going to be code here that sets this up. Okay? Right. When we actually find the minerals, right, we'll have to actually tell it what minerals were found. Or do we? Nah, actually we don't. We can do this in the found minerals and take all the values from everything else and work it out for there, right? So we can leave it out of the AI. All we need to do is this basic task. Okay? So if we go back to behavior tree, we can move this out here. And we're doing a task, found minerals. And then in here, we're going to do status, even though we don't really need it. And then we're going to do, where is it? Mining probe. Save that. Okay. You can save that. And that's all good. And now the issue here is we need to tell it at some point we need to tell the drone which mining probe it is. Okay, so we need to figure out as we go through, and I might actually write this down. My God, I'm going to write something down. Right, so when it creates this, we need to apply it. Right, so we need to know when this was created. This is why I need to probably write this down. I would have probably been able to do this no problem if right, so that's setting that. And there's the mining probe there. Right. Now the interesting thing here is we are actually going to be doing a similar thing here. Except we're not. We're going to be doing this. This is selecting the target. Right, okay. So basically we shouldn't be doing this. We should be doing it over here. Okay, because each drone thing should get its own mining probe and mineral patch. Okay. Even though they're all going to be kind of joined together, right? But what we'll do is we'll do that. Right, this will come over here. We'll do that. Right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do these. Well, we can drag off this, right? And we can set value as object, right? And then make literal name. Right, and this is mining probe. Hang on a second, I've got to just message somebody quickly that might be interested in this stream. Right, so back to where we were, and we are basically putting it here, right? And if we save that, right, and then we go to our mining probe, then we break that. Right, what do you think, guys? Do you think this is going to work? So what it's doing instead, it used to wait for 5 seconds, right? And then it used to basically build out our found materials, right? Which basically built the BP mineral and then calculated what went into it and stuff. Okay. So now it's going to be done within our behavior tree at this point here. And what I'm actually, I don't know if I can do this actually, but we'll try it. Right, we'll say C. Yeah, I can. Right. Call it found minerals. It just keeps up, but the rest of this is just cosmetic, right? This is purely cosmetic. The drone flying around basically doesn't do anything within the game other than look good, okay? So but the point here is what we want to do is we want to look at this, right? And we want to stick a breakpoint in here. Save that. And then we're going to test it. Okay. So we do our probe. We do our probey thing. Here, right, come on drone. Why is the drone not doing anything? As target is false. What? Right, I'll tell you what. Let's start from afresh. Well, that's weird. So that is that is let's close these down for now. Don't know why that's flashing away. Anyway, right. Kind of flabbergasted at that. Right, why did I close all that down? Right, so it wasn't that. It's in BP grid. We're setting has target. Right, we didn't change anything there. Right, I'll tell you what. Right now, I didn't do anything other than move this to the end here. Right? So that makes it really weird. Okay. So that would suggest that found materials does something. Right, so that's the... Let's look at probe. Let's look at BP mining probe. Right. Now, does that suggest... Here's the found minerals, right? Right, so... This is BP mineral. Right, and all that's doing is setting up okay. So what we'll do is we go back to here, add a breakpoint here, and add a breakpoint here. Okay? Because when we click on it and we're in probe mode, we get that. Then we get the grid, and then we get the drones. So I can only assume at this point we don't have a grid. Right, that's the only way I can see this causing this particular problem that we're having. Right? So if I do that, right, we can step over once we drag this out a bit. So we step over and it should go in here. And it did. Okay. So that's weird. Stop that. Alright, we don't want to go mental here. We don't want to make a complete mess of everything, right? So we've got to take our time here because this is the first time I've done anything with the drone in a wee while. So I don't want to basically muck it up. Just on the fact. Alright, this should all be done. Alright, continue that. And what we want to do is we want to have a look at this to see what the values are. Right, so if we just do probe. Then we'll just resume. We'll step over. We'll step over. We're setting the has value. Right? So if we look at the behavior tree, we're looking at is set. Now it's doing it. Right, so it's taken off. But for whatever reason, we don't have a target location. Right, now I'm guessing this is going to use the target location. Well, actually, it's the next location. Do we have a next location? Invalid. Okay, well, that explains a lot. Right. So it would appear that this isn't getting set. Right, because this is setting up the target location, and I'm pretty sure the target location is then firing off and setting the right. See there, we're doing next location to target location and new location to next location. Right, now this shouldn't need to change, so we're not going to change any of this because this was all working fine. So it must be something in the code that has changed, right? This BP grid, right? When we're looking in here, right? This must have changed in some way. Right, so I'm going to enable that. Right, and at this point I'm going to grab a quick cigarette and I shall be back in 2 minutes. Adjusting breakpoints. Breakpoints are essential. Right, so I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Right, so don't go anywhere. Okay, guys, we're back, and we have come to a very alright, Gmod videos. I don't know what you're on about, but if you don't kind of type something sensible, then you're just going to get hidden and blocked. Right, so I've come to the realization, right, when they click on this and they're in probe mode, then we're not actually going to do this, right? The grid only applies now to one position, right? Which is the position that you select, right? But where we actually set up minerals is going to depend on the number of drones, okay? So, for example, if I click here, right, then one drone, right, this is actually quite ideal, right? So one drone is going to look for minerals here, right? If it's two drones, it might be here and here. If it's three drones, then here, four there, five there, six there, right? So in actual fact, we're only ever going to have one position, but then we're going to have to set up the drones to then go to the different positions and then spawn minerals, okay? So this is going to have to actually change. But what we want to do in the meantime is find out if we have a value for this, right? Because I don't think that this is setting a value. Here, right? This get actor location 0, well, it actually does in fact. Right, we definitely have a blackboard. Hey Jameson, how you doing, mate? Right, so we do have a problem here, but this target is getting set, right? Right, we'll just step over this. Right, and we'll close that. Right, now, this spawn location, that's right. And then we're setting our mining probe to here. But our blackboard here is saying we don't have a target location. Hang on a minute. Hang on a tickety-boo. Stop this. Target location is not a vector, it is a I'm guessing it's going to be a grid. Well, it's just an object. That's weird. That is weird. Right, so if we go back to here, what? Target location. Did I accidentally screw that up? I can only assume that somehow that changed. Which is kind of weird. Right, let's try that again. Right, so our new system. Resume. 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 Right, and that should be a vector. Right, resume. And now we've got a value. And now we've got a mining probe in here as well. Right, and there we go, we fly out. Okay. I found minerals. Cool. Resume. Oh, look at that. Right, so that's now actually working perfectly well. That's exactly what we want. Right, so now we have materials or minerals. Right, so you'll have noticed before that what happened was that as soon as basically I built this, then mining constructor came straight over here and started building it. But that's not how it's going to work. Now, obviously I've had to change the sequence of events here, so for Jameson's to let Jameson see what we did was we created a task within the behavior tree that basically puts it in the right place, that when you finish the scan you basically find the minerals, right? And then what we've done is move a whole load of stuff, right, around, and you can now build a miner, right? I don't know why it's got that, to be honest. But anyway, we can change that. But the point is, right, the new workflow is going to be this. You click on the ground, all your drones are going to fly around here and pick a spot round about where you selected, right? Then our drone is going to fly, right? And you'll notice nothing's happened so far. So that's cool. And then it's going to drop down. We're going to simulate our scanning for stuff, right? And then if we find stuff, which at the moment we do, we always find stuff, is we basically hit that task. That was the task I just showed you, by the way. Right? So we hit that task and then bang. We create a random set of rocks, which are our minerals. Right? And the point now is that you will basically create a miner, right? And it's not going to go green unless you're over the top of a mineral, right? So that's the next part. Okay? So with that in mind, what we need to do is we need to set up our miner to actually show the miner, rather than some other thing that it's showing. Right? So, with that in mind, I believe I'm not 100% sure where this actually is. but we'll have a look in here anyway. And that's minor. Oh. Right, okay. For some reason this is a power plant, right? And that's why it's showing that silly thing. Right, so we want this to be minor. And for some reason it's not called a minor. Okay, whatever. Right. So if we go to here and go to here, and we click on building mesh, eh? That's not it. Ah, okay, okay. I get it. I get it. Right. It's actually the mesh is not right. Right. Because the reason is that we're using we're basically using the scientific thing, right? So I can basically show you where that is, right? It's under here, science lab. Right, now this might actually end up looking like complete crap, because there's something tells me that this is facing the wrong direction. It's actually this one. Right, so what we do is we put that in there, and you'll notice it has no base, so when we actually do it, it's going to have no base. But at least we can do something with it. Right, so anyway. But when we do that, at least we should be able to do... Right, we'll undo that, disable that, resume that, disable, and then run. And then we can now disable that. That was weird how that variable got changed in the AI. There we go. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to create this, and you'll notice that it's bloody huge. Right? But for our purposes' sake, we can do something about it. Okay, now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to check to see where or at least I think this is done by yep. This is done by the base building. The base building checks for if it's actually, if you can place it or not, right? So we're gonna have to do a switch when we're trying to place it, right? So we basically go to here, BP base building, and it's going to be when you click on clicked on. Right, so that's when you click on the plane to give you information, and right, so it must be up a bit. We're looking for line traces basically. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're on here, we should be on BP temp building. Right, this is the one that does it. Right. Set actor location. Then this is it here, can place building, right? So we're going to have to right. So when we're looking at the temp building, that's the one that's wireframe, right? And we have a building name, which is an enumerator, which is the type of building that we're going to do, right? So can place building, right? You'll see that we're doing line traces, right? But the thing is, we'd only want to do the line traces if it's not a minor, right? Because the minor is going to be slightly different. Now, we might have to do the line traces as well, right? But we want to know if we are over the top of minerals, right? So how do we do that? Well, we're going to shoot a line trace down, right? So we're going to switch on, that's not it. Well, I don't know why we're doing that. That building name, find references. Right, that's the only place we're doing it, right? So this is actually wrong, okay? What we actually need to do is rename this to the building type that we're actually going to build, or trying to build, right? So that we can pass through our building type, right? So now if I do that, if I do a get, right? And then I say switch, I can switch. Right, I didn't change it, I just changed the blooming name like a right idiot, right? So this is going to be not going to be E items. Hi Assad, This is data. Right, so we're changing this to building type, right? And then what we're going to do is, when we create this, we're going to set this variable, right? So this is one Jameson that you might be wanting to look at when I do this. And if you've never done this before, then this will probably blow your mind. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch on this, right? Then we're going to pop that in there for now. Right, we're going to spin that, like, or we're going to do that. In fact, it'd be easier just to move this to the left. Right, so we'll do that to give us some space. Right, and it's actually the minor we don't want to do that with. Right, so we'll say refiner, then we're going to cut the one to the minor because it's going to be the one that's different, right? But we just join these all up here because everything else is going to use the standard way to find out if we can place it. Okay. Oopsie doopsie. We'll do that. Right, now, the thing we haven't done is we haven't set this up yet, right? So we need to find where we are making a BP placement, okay? So what we can do is this, if we do reference viewer, then this is going to give us an idea. Now this isn't always very helpful, and it's in the individual build button, right? So I know where that is. Individual build button is in our UI, right? And it's in here, right? So we go to the graph, and then we go to our event graph, and the next thing we do is we might need to do a few things here actually. Alright, because I don't know, it doesn't look as if we've got the right thing, right? But we're going to show you how to set this up. Right, so that's get building cost. Now the thing I'm interested in is where it's going to say spawn temp building, okay? And you'll notice now this building type has come in here. Okay, now that was pre-set up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and show you why that is as it is. Right, now normally it would be set up like this, okay? Right, so I'm going to do that, and then we're going to go back. So ignore what you've seen so far, right? Because I'm going to refresh the nodes. Right, so what I want is to set this variable in temp building. I want to set the building type, right? And I want to set the building type when I come in, right? When I actually create this object, right? So if I go to here, what I actually want is to be able to pass it in, right? So what you do is you create variable, you set it to instance editable, and then you say expose on spawn, and then you save it, and then now, right, if I refresh this, there is our variable that we can pass in. Okay, so now on the point of creation, I can actually set variables that I want set up before we create it. Okay, now the problem here is we don't know what this building is, right? But we should be able to get that enumerator for somewhere, right? Now we might have to go back up a level and find out what creates this and pass it through, right? But it's the individual button. Okay, so when the individual button gets done, right, what we can do is we can do exactly the same thing, right? So what we're going to do is for our buttons, our individual button, right, we're going to create another variable, and we're going to basically say the same thing. We're going to say building type, right, except we're going to spell it right, and then we're going to set this to an E building type. Okay, and we know that we set our hotbar with these buildings, and then these will be being pulled, right, from the data table, right? So we can go to hotbar main, and that's really annoying me now, and then we can go to the graph, and here is the building, and you'll notice that we set the building type. So if we refresh these nodes, we didn't set it, right? So what we need to do is, if you don't see it coming up, make sure you've set individual, instance editable, and expose on spawn. Then save it, and now when we create our button, we can pass it in. Okay, and then off here, why don't we have the why don't we have the thing? Okay, okay, that's fine, right? We just need to take it one step further, right? Let's not worry. We're looking at struct menu buildings, okay? So if we just go to here, we go to struct menu buildings, and we have got building type, right? So I was talking rubbish, or I didn't see it. We just aren't showing it. Remember that I showed you that the other night? And there we go. So that's going to pass in through to here, and then when we create the temporary building, which was Where was it? It was on the click. Has to be on click. Right? So what we can now do is we can pull this and put it directly in there. Or sometimes you can't, sometimes you need to get it and put it directly in there. Okay? And then finally, we've now got this set. Okay? Because we're passing it in. So when we do the minor thing, I'll show you that. Right? What we'll do is print string, and then I'll just put a breakpoint in, and I'll show you actually doing that. Right? So when we click on the button, this is the one that's going to fire down a line trace. Right? So if we add a breakpoint here and save it, then this should be us ready to check. Okay, so if we do continue, right, and then we do, well, actually it doesn't matter if we do our probe or not, but anyway. Right, but what we can do is, if we do that, there you go. It's ready to start checking. And there you go. So I don't know if you knew any of that, or if you understood any of that either, but basically I went back up the line in reverse of the code and made sure I passed through the building type, which allows me to do different things for these now if I wanted to, right? But in this case we're just doing it for the minor, so I can just resume that. And it's going to keep doing it, right, because it's always going to check the position. Right, so if I do that and resume, you'll notice that it does hello, hello, hello loads of times. Right, and that's because we're always checking if it's okay for it to build it or not, right? So obviously, if it's viable to build it, it's going to go green, right? Or at least that's going to be the plan. So, on that, any questions, let me know. I'm going to go and grab a quick cigarette, and I shall be back in 2 minutes. I'll see you then. Okay, we're back. So that is all working nicely, right? But what we want to do is we want to drag these over here a bit, and we could actually just copy and paste these, right? Just for now. And in actual fact, yeah, we need to do it in line, right? Because we need to constantly get what X and Y are, because that's basically what the position of the mouse is, right? Or the position of the building is, right? So what we can basically do is that, and we're not going to do that, but what we're going to do is a line trace. So we shall just copy that, and we'll drag these up a bit. Right? And we are not going to do, well, we are going to do X and Y, right? Excuse me. We are going to do X and Y, right? But our actual thing is we're going to do from 100 to minus 100. Okay? And basically what we do I wonder if this actually ignores the terrain. We're going to find out, right? So what we'll do is we'll actually do this. In fact, we're going to do this. And we'll just get it to print out what we actually hit. Right? And then we'll basically take it for there. Right? Thank you for the bless you. Right, so basically now what we're doing is, if we hit something, we're going to print out its name, right? We're doing a line trace, we're doing X, Y, X, Y, same position, but shooting it straight down, right? So we do need to build, we actually do need to do the probe now, right? Okay. So now, when we do this, you'll notice it's hitting landscape, and now it's hitting mine and probe. Right? So basically, if we hit the mine and probe, we actually don't want to hit the mine and probe. What we want to do is we want to hit the mineral, right? Now, I'm guessing that the mineral, let's see, if we go to the mineral, right? I'm guessing, I'm going to go to the viewport. We've got this box here, right? And I'm guessing that the box hasn't got, it's got overlap all right. Now here's the thing, what has the mining probe got? Get rid of that. Right, it's only got that. Right. So if we say yes and block all, or let's say block all dynamic, right? We'll save that. Because your terrain isn't a dynamic. I don't know why these robots get dragged along with that grid, by the way, but it's quite funny. But now you can see that the logic of the game flow makes more sense now, right? So we're doing landscape, and then there we go, BP mineral. Beautiful, beautiful, right? So we can stop that. And we need to do a cleanup because our mining probe should be disappearing and all the rest of it. And it was temp building. Right. So what we can do here is we can drag off here, make array, and I'm pretty sure maybe that's not the way we do it. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. We'll have a look at that later, because I only want to check on dynamic, right? But in the first instance, we want to do a branch here. Right, and then we want to do another one. Okay, then we can delete that. We can delete that. And then we get the hit actor and if we cast it to mineral, right, if it successfully casts to a mineral, right, then basically what we do is we set it to viable as true. So we can basically do that. We duplicate that. Right. Now we can set the viable as true, or we can just delete that and click that, and that would do the same thing. Right. So now when we run it, it should work. So we can do a probe. Right. Okay, we now have our mineral. And now, if we click, there we go. See? And for some reason it turned green. So okay. Right, so we are going to hit this. Right, so I'm guessing this local variable is viable, set, true, duplicate, false. Okay, and then we bring this in and do that. We can set that there. Set that there. Then this can go here. That can go there. And that can go there. And now we should have it all working rather beautifully. We'll do a save all because we've not done that for a while. Right. So here we go. Here's our drone. Fly to fly. Now the funny thing is, we could do this right now, right? It's going to be red, 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 red. Can't do anything. Red, red, red. Ready, red. Red star, red. Ready, red. Good old red. Right, now we've got our mineral. Green, green, green. Red, 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 red. Green. Red, 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 red. Green. And build. Bang! Cool, huh? So there we go. We're getting there, we're getting there. The next part is going to be some cleanup, because you'll have noticed that well, I'll let you see. The grid will still be there, and the mining probe is still there, right? Which obviously we don't want. Right, this little probe thing here, we don't want that. We want that to disappear once. That's going to be like some, I mean, I don't actually need that anymore, to be fair. But it's obviously not getting deleted, so we need to do something about that. And then this little flaggy thing can go, because that's where basically the constructor used to drive to, right? But you can see that our thing is working perfectly well. And you can see the two different types. So that's an iron and that's a copper. Right? You can see that's got the iron veins, and this one's got the coppery veins. Right, but this should be gone. But if we build a miner, we can build it there. We can build it there. That's going, this is going pretty well. I have to say. Quite impressed with us. Now, I'll bet you that this isn't getting set up right. You see? Right, because I've still got to set this all up to actually use the mineral that we actually clicked on, right? So that's going to have to get done, but again, some nice progress there, and we should have all that. Well, it depends if I work this afternoon or not, right? If I work this afternoon, I'll probably have all that done. If I decide to have a rest and not bother, then it might not be done. But I shall be back at 8 PM tonight. And if you've enjoyed the stream, hit this like and subscribe. And check the description for Discord and ways to support the channel. And I shall see you in a few hours, hopefully. Bye bye for now.